there's so many different use cases for it. Even if you don't see yourself, you could be a plumber and say, well, I'm a plumber. That it has nothing to do with any of the stuff that I'm doing. It does though. Like if you can actually prep for something and learn more about that business when you go in, you can understand why that business has specific needs and why there's certain things. Like all of those different nuances are things that it can give you information, and then you add the context in to say, well, this is why it matters to me. So
Yeah.
where I'll watch YouTube videos and the first thing I do is I'll drop a transcript in and I'll say, okay, give me your takeaways. And then I watch the actual episode and I say, okay, here's my takeaways. And when I do a side by side comparison, it's drastically different because it's listening for certain things. But what I give it on the back end is like, no, this is why this was relevant to me. And by the time I'm done, I'm able to kind of merge those two together. And I get up. This is why I don't run out of content,
Yeah.
because I'm able to find all kind of things to say, okay, well, I love that they said this. I don't want to repeat what they said. I want to take my experiences and be able to say, based on what I heard here, this is what my experience was with it. I know I watched something on paid ads and these guys were just talking about it like it was so easy. I was so triggered. I was I had to text some friends. I was like, dude, I'm like 11 minutes in. I'm hot right now because they were just making it sound so easy. And I've spent 30 years in paid and in advertising to know how much money people can burn through. It's easy for a lot of people to talk about things, but if they don't add the context, then people will end up losing some of it. So I think it's really important to understand. Yes, you can go to the websites. Yes, you can do all of these things, and it may feel like cheating, but what it's really doing is giving you enough information for you to be able to kind of add your own bits into it and make it your own. And I think that's where it's not something that's limited just for creative people. There's so many different people that can use it for so many different ways. I think there's a lot more to it than people may think. And if you can kind of take a step back and think about it from that perspective, then there's a use case for it for everyone. I have a friend, he was actually on the podcast, we were talking about it from the tech side. He used it to come up with his gym routine and figure out like his calorie intake, his caloric intake, and all the rest of these things. There's just so many use cases. It's the limit is really your imagination. And once you figure out that it can do all of these things, then it's a matter of just putting the boundaries around it to say, like you said, I don't want you to add anything extra in. I want you to just take what it is that I'm giving you and just give me a synopsis based on that. And then I'll add in all of my time, all of my context and everything else.
Yeah.
So
I think you said
I'll
something
get off
really
my
important.
soapbox. Mhm,
I think you said something really important. You watched a video and
mhm,
you made the points that you thought were important. You put the transcript into AI. It
mhm.
told you what it thought was important, and those two lists
Yeah.
didn't match up.
Yeah.
That says a lot right there about humans versus AI. So, trusting AI to choose what is important for you can be quite dangerous.
Oh, yeah.
Telling AI what is important to you and then asking AI to make a good list of that. Or, I've asked AI, I'd like to read a book on, you know, give me 10 books,
Mhm.
telling it what is important and then
Right.
asking for something that's different. But what you said there was so important. What I thought was important and what ChatGPT thought was important was very different. And same goes for people who are looking for clients and clients think they should be using AI. Well, maybe they should be using both because
Yes.
together we may have different perspectives and we may build something even better together, right?
Thank you for not allowing me to just gloss over that, because that is a takeaway that I would want people to be able to get. And that's what makes you a great guest, because the next question I was going to ask you is, what's one thing a listener could do or try
Mhm.
today, even if they feel overwhelmed by tech? And uh, I think that kind of serves as a lead in.
Yeah, I think that if you're listening today and this has helped you become curious,
Hmm.
what is one thing you can do? Pick one very simple thing. Go to ChatGPT and let's say your doctor said you needed more iron. Go to ChatGPT and say, what are the top 10 highest, most dense iron foods? Or
Hmm.
say, I have a meeting with this person, give them the LinkedIn, give me a summary of this. Just do one very low risk thing. Just do one very simple thing. Maybe go to a AI and say, you know, this is what I do,
Mhm.
name 4 markets that might be interested in what I do.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
that, just something really simple. But of course, not everything ChatGPT says is true. Just like
Yes.
just like your Uncle Harry's not always telling the truth,
Mhm.
right? So
Mhm.
so again, you are the human and you
Yeah.
need to verify things. But just take one simple thing and ask one simple question. That's it. I've given
Absolutely.
3 examples. I hope that's helpful.
Absolutely. I believe that it is. It's really just something where if you want to learn about something, tell it where you're at and say, what parts am I missing? One of the things that I try to highlight to people is there are so many blind spots in life that, we have based on our experiences, and AI can actually fill in the context for that. Um, but very much what you said, I do not take it as gospel when it gives me information. I will ask the source. I will check the information because it has given me information and said, well, all you have to do is this. And I'm like, no, that's not true. And then I have to explain what people are actually like. So that's where I go back to is based on dated information. And that dated information may be based on something where it got all of that information from people that were in one specific mindset or wherever it got it from, it's basing it on that. But when you have to look at what's the difference between, like going with the YouTube thing, what it would give me is what its understanding of people is. And my thing is, no, here's actually how people actually think. And this is what I know about people based on doing market research and conversations and all these other things. Once I give it the context, it's like, oh, so AI will have its aha moments the same way we would have our aha moments. And once you give it that context, then it changes the whole conversation and then the output becomes so much better. So when people say, well, AI outputs all sound generic, it's because they never gave it context for it to be able to fine tune it so that it doesn't sound like everybody else. It just took whatever they gave it, and then AI said, "Okay, well, here's what you can do." If you never question it, if you never give it any nuance, then
Yeah.
you're never going to get any additional information. So
Yeah.
I love that you have spoken about, like, you know what? It's one thing to give it information. It's another thing to not think about how to be able to customize it and personalize it to yourself, because that's what's going to allow you to be able to get these end results that, if you just take what it gives you and you just post it, yes, you're going to sound like 100 other people because everybody's doing the same thing. And the only thing that really changes is the name at the top, the name at the bottom, and a couple of little pieces in between, because that's the little bit of extra context that you gave it. Um, I would add to what you said and say, have it interview you, have it ask you some questions, start to get
Yes.
answers to questions, because I think sometimes there's a saying, if you don't know the answers because you're not asking the right questions.
Yeah.
If you have it ask you questions and you realize that you can't answer that question, then it's probably something that you may want to give more thought to.
Yeah.
Or now you've identified something that is a spot that you can actually fill in. So if you've got weaknesses, it can turn those into strengths
Yeah.
if you have the time to be able to do that. So there's so many different ways to be able to use it. I have come to appreciate it on a much different level, but I do realize that there are people that use it as a crutch. And we did have a conversation where there are the people that have the creative mind, and they say, well, I have the creative mind, so I don't necessarily need it for creativity. That's fine. Use it for the administrative stuff, the operations things. If you are not someone that feels like you're a very creative person, it can help expand your perspective in a way that allows you to be more creative than you would be on a regular day. And then you can start to find ways to be able to do more things on your own. The only thing that I would caution, and I believe you've covered that, is make sure that the output and the thing that you put out there is you.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of times I have conversations with people and I can read the content and I can read the stuff that they're putting out. And then I go to have a conversation with them and realize nowhere in that was any of that you, because you're not using the same language. It's
Yeah.
not the same tone. If I ask you follow up questions, there's just holes. And that is going to be something that leaves you exposed.
Yeah.
And it is something where credibility is really hard to be able to kind of get back. Your reputation is really hard to get back. So don't put yourself in a position where it's going to be compromised
Yeah.
because you see a lot of these gurus with the easy button that says, oh, yeah, just give it this prompt and it'll be able to give you something back on the back end.
Uh,
You actually have to understand the information that you're getting. So,
yeah.
as much as you hear me talk about like going on YouTube and I'll watch something, I also said what I do is I customize it to my experiences. So
Yeah.
I've heard people use quotes and stories and things like that. And then when you ask follow up questions, it's not their story. So they can't answer any of the follow up questions. They can't give any context to it because they heard it somewhere. So that's the only caveat that I would add to it to say, have it ask you questions.
Yes.
I can guarantee you that there are some experiences that you have that nobody else has, and it'll help you find those and help you find a way to be able to turn that into a much more interesting conversation. And that's something that you can actually get from it that will empower you in more ways that you may think of.